I never thought I'd find myself in a story like this, especially not about someone I trusted so completely. But here I am, sitting in my apartment staring at the crumpled piece of paper I found tucked inside her purse. It's a hotel receipt, the kind you get for a night's stay, with a date just a week before our wedding. And next to it, a crumpled napkin with her lipstick smeared on it, bright red, unmistakably her. I've spent years trying to convince myself I knew her, but right now I don't even recognize her face. It all started with the little things, her avoiding my eyes the late nights, the way she'd always make up some excuse about work. I brushed it off, telling myself I was paranoid, that she was tired or stressed. She's a professional after all. But deep down, I always felt a flicker of doubt. It's that gut feeling you ignore until it gnaws at you day and night. I just never thought I'd find proof. That night I decided to dig a little deeper. I didn't plan on destroying everything, but I wanted to see what I'd find. So I went through her phone, her emails, her stuff. That's when I saw the hotel reservation. No name, just a booking under a fake email. It was made through her work email, which I knew she used for everything. The date was suspiciously close to our wedding, only a few days prior. My stomach clenched. That's when I saw the message thread. It wasn't just a booking, it was a setup. There were texts from someone named Mark. They weren't just friendly. There were jokes, flirtatious comments, plans to meet up. One message said, "Can't wait to see you tonight, it's been too long." My hands felt numb. I scrolled further, and the worst part, she actually said, "Don't worry, I'll make sure it's worth it," right before signing off. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I read those words over and over like they'd burn into my brain. The physical evidence was there, those receipts, the dirty napkin, the texts, and on some level I knew. I'd ignored the signs for too long, told myself I was overreacting. Now the truth was staring me in the face, and it hit so hard it almost knocked me over. How she lied about everything, how she played me for a fool. I'd been so blind, so eager to believe in the fairy tale, but this was real. She cheated on me, and she did it right before our wedding. I remember the cold sweat on my back, the sticky sensation of my palms as I held the phone. My stomach twisted with rage and betrayal. I wanted to scream, punch something, but I just sat there, stunned, trying to process what I'd uncovered. I kept asking myself, did she ever love me? Was I just a pawn in her game? The thought made my fists clench so tight my knuckles turned white. Now I'm left with a choice. Do I confront her, call her out, or do I walk away? The plan is already forming in my mind, some kind of revenge, not just for the betrayal, but to make her realize she's not going to get away with this. I want her to see what she lost, what she threw away. But I also need to understand how deep her lies go. That's what I'm working on now. How to make her feel the weight of what she's done without going overboard. I don't have all the pieces yet, but I know this. She's not the person I thought she was, and I refuse to stay blind any longer. I want her to see me, to see what she's lost, and to understand that this isn't just about her betrayal. It's about the truth finally coming out and what I'm going to do with it. After I found everything, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, then dragged through a muddy puddle. My mind kept racing, trying to piece together what I'd uncovered. I couldn't sleep that night. The apartment was dead silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, tight with deceit, lips pressed together like she was hiding something. I could still smell her perfume, sweet, familiar, now tainted with the scent of betrayal. I kept thinking about the nights she'd come home late, her phone buzzing constantly, her nervous glances. Nothing added up. All those little things I brushed off, now glaring like neon signs. The hotel receipt was proof enough that she'd been lying, but the fact that she'd been with her boss, Mark, just before we were supposed to get married, that made it worse. It was a slap across the face, a punch in the gut I wasn't prepared for. I got up, pacing the apartment, trying to think. I needed a plan, something cold, calculated, something she wouldn't see coming. I decided to dig a little deeper into her relationship with Mark. I had to know if this was just a one-time thing or if there was more to it. I spent hours scrolling through her social media, her emails, trying to find more clues. The more I looked, the angrier I got. There were photos of them together, him leaning in, her smiling in that fake, forced way. I saw the way she looked at him once. There was no mistaking it. Lust, affection, maybe even love. It made me sick. The worst part, she'd lied to me about everything. Told me she was working late, that she was stressed out from her job. I remember her saying, "It's just work, I swear." And I believed her because I wanted to believe in us. Now I saw her lying through her teeth, smiling at me with that innocent look. While she was out cheating, I felt my jaw tighten so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. I had to confront her. I couldn't let her keep lying. But I didn't want to do it recklessly. I needed to catch her off guard, to make her realize I knew everything. So I started planning my move. I decided I'd wait until she came home, then lay everything out in a way that she couldn't deny. She would have to face what she'd done, face me. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some fool who got betrayed. You hurt me, and I was going to make damn sure she paid. The plan was simple but ruthless. I would record her reaction when I told her I knew about Mark. I'd start with the evidence, show her the hotel receipt, the texts, the photos. I wanted her to feel cornered, helpless. And I'd be ready for her excuses, her lies. I knew her too well. She'd probably try to deny it, say it was just a misunderstanding. But I had receipts. I had proof. That night I set my phone on the table, played with the idea of just showing her everything and walking out. But I knew I needed more than that. I wanted her to know she'd lost everything, her marriage, her dignity. I'd make her feel the shame of her betrayal, not just with words but through her own guilt. I'd make her see she couldn't escape it. That's when I realized I was no longer just hurt, I was furious. The next day I bought a small voice recorder. It was hidden in my pocket, ready to capture her every word. I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd confront her calmly, coldly. I wanted her to understand this wasn't a fight about her cheating. This was about respect, honesty, and the fact that she'd broken every single rule I thought we'd had. I didn't want to yell. I wanted her to see how deep her lies had cut. When she finally came home that evening, I was waiting in the living room. My stomach twisted with anticipation. As she stepped through the door, her face was tense, like she already knew I was angry. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "We need to talk. I found out everything." Her eyes widened just a little. But then she quickly masked it with that fake, innocent look she always used. That's when I pressed record on my phone and laid the evidence on the table. "Who is Mark?" I asked, voice steady but cold. "And why were you with him just before our wedding?" Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That's when I saw the panic in her eyes, the flicker of guilt that she couldn't hide anymore. The game was up, and I knew this wasn't going to be the end. Not yet. I watched her struggle for words, her hands trembling slightly as she looked down at the evidence spread out between us. Her chest rose and fell quickly, and I could see her trying to think of some way to spin this, to deny or justify what she'd done. But I wasn't in the mood for excuses. Not anymore. I already knew the truth, I just wanted to hear her admit it. "You lied to me," I said slowly, voice low and even. "All those nights you came home late, all those excuses about work stress. You were with him, Mark, my future boss, the man you was supposed to be loyal to me over." I felt my jaw tighten, the muscles there clenched so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. My stomach was twisting, cold and hot at the same time, like 1,000 needles stabbing into my gut. She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes. I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered, voice trembling. "It was a mistake, just once, just once." I cut her off. "That's what I'm supposed to believe. That one night, one mistake, somehow justifies everything. After all these years, after the vows we made." Her excuses faded, and I saw the shame etched deep into her face. I could see her trying to hold back tears, her hands clutching her sides like she was trying to physically contain her guilt. I felt a strange mixture of anger and sadness. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this, right before our wedding? But underneath that, there was a part of me that still wanted to understand. "Why? I want to know why," I said, voice cracking just a little. "Why, Mark? Why cheat? After everything we planned, everything we said we wanted." She looked down, silent for a long moment. Then she finally whispered, "I was lonely. It was a stupid mistake. I never wanted to hurt you." I scoffed. "That's bullshit. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew I'd find out, and you still went through with it." My stomach twisted again, my fists clenched so tight I thought my nails would cut into my palms. "You lied to my face all this time, and now you expect me to believe it was just a moment of weakness." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but I couldn't feel sorry for her, not anymore. Not when she'd thrown everything away for some affair with her boss. I felt the rage building and I knew I had to act fast. I pulled out my phone, ready to end this once and for all. I wasn't going to let her spin her lies anymore. "You're done," I said sharply. "You lied, you cheated, and you betrayed everything we had. I want out." I hit delete on the recordings, and the silence between us grew thick. "I don't know if I can forgive you, but I do know I can't stay here and pretend I don't see what you are anymore." She looked at me with such raw hurt, like I'd just shattered her world. "Please," she begged, voice cracking. "Don't do this. Let's talk. We can fix this. I love you." That was the last straw. I took a deep breath, feeling the burning anger rise up in my chest. Love. You think love means cheating on someone and lying to their face? Love means honesty, loyalty. You lost that the moment you slept with him. I stepped forward, my voice hardening. "I want you out of my life, now." Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded without argument. There was a defeated look in her face, one I'd never seen before. As I watched her pack her things, I felt an odd mix of relief and emptiness. The betrayal was real, but so was my resolve. I didn't want to be that guy who stays and hopes she'll change. No, this was final. I'd made my choice. When she left, I sat on the couch, staring at the empty space where she'd been. My stomach churned, a strange numbness settling in. I'd lost my future wife, sure, but what I gained was clarity. I finally saw her for what she really was, someone who lied and cheated, someone unworthy of my trust. Now I'm left with a question. How do I make her understand the damage she's done? How do I make her feel the weight of her actions? That's the next step, and I already know I won't go easy on her. She's going to regret ever crossing this line. And I plan to make sure she does. It's been a few days since she left, and I've been sitting with my thoughts, trying to piece together what comes next. The house feels emptier than ever, like a shell of what it used to be. Every corner reminds me of her. The scent of her perfume still lingers in the air, and her side of the closet is still half full with her clothes. But I know I can't leave it like this. I need to send a message, not just to her, but to everyone who ever believed in us. I spent the night planning my revenge, the kind that hits where it hurts without crossing into anything violent or illegal. I want her to feel the loss, the betrayal, the loneliness she brought onto herself. It's not about petty revenge. It's about making her question everything she built her life on, just like she made me question ours. First, I gathered everything I found, the receipts, the texts, the photos, and I made copies of all of it. I want her to see in black and white how deep her lies ran. I also contacted a private investigator I'd kept on standby after noticing some odd behaviors. I paid him to dig into Mark's background, see if he's got a history of affairs or just some fluke. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, that I'm fully armed with facts. The plan is simple but vicious. I'll send her a package. Nothing big, just a small box with all the evidence I've collected, along with a note. No words of anger, no threats, just facts. I want her to see everything I saw, to understand how thoroughly she's been exposed. I also want to do something about Mark. Part of me wants to ruin him, but I know that's not the way. Instead, I'm going to leave a little message on his social media, a hint that I know his secrets. Nothing explicit, just enough to make him uncomfortable. I want him to know I'm watching, that I'm not just going to walk away quietly. My biggest piece of revenge, though, is something more personal. I'm going to cut her out of my life completely. No texts, no calls, no apologies or explanations. I'll hand her the evidence, tell her to leave, and then I'll change my number, delete her from my social media, and block her completely. I want her to feel what it's like to lose everything you once cared about, because she threw it all away. Next, I plan to put the evidence in a box, write a short note, and send it to her office. I want her colleagues, her boss, everyone she works with to see the truth, to realize that she's been hiding a secret that could ruin her career. I won't tell her I'm doing it. I want her to stumble across it by accident, to feel that shock and betrayal all over again. That's my final act of justice. But more than anything, I want her to know I'm serious. That I'm not just hurt, I'm furious. Furious enough to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I want her to see that I'm no longer just the naive guy she married. I'm the man who's going to make her pay in ways she never expected. I sit here, staring at the evidence, feeling a strange calm settle over me. It's like I've finally taken control of the chaos she caused. I don't know what she's thinking right now, but I don't care. She's lost her right to my trust, and I'm about to remind her exactly what that means. No more pretending, no more apologies, just the cold truth and the justice I'm about to deliver. I already feel that rush, the adrenaline as I press send on the package knowing that everything's about to change. She's going to find out she's not the only one who's been playing games, and I'll be waiting, watching, until she realizes she can't run from what she's done. That's the real revenge, making her face the consequences she tried so hard to avoid. The day I sent that box, I felt a strange mixture of relief and exhaustion. It was like I'd finally taken control back, like I'd just pulled the trigger on a chapter I couldn't escape from anymore. I watched the tracking update every hour, waiting for her to get it. I didn't sleep much that night, just sitting at the window, eyes glued to my phone, feeling every nerve in my body tense up with anticipation. When I finally saw the delivery confirmation, her name signed for at her office, I knew the moment had arrived. I didn't have to say a word, she'd find everything herself. I imagined her opening the box, staring at the evidence, her stomach dropping, her face draining of color. That's what I wanted, to make her realize that there's no hiding from the truth. For a while I kept my distance. I wanted her to stew in her own guilt, to feel the weight of what she'd done. But I couldn't resist checking her social media, just to see if she'd posted anything, to see if she was trying to cover her tracks. Nothing. Good. I hoped she was too busy reeling to think about what I'd done. That evening, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. When I opened it, my stomach sank. It was a message from her, barely more than a whisper. Why? Why did you do this? Please, let's talk. Her words sounded hollow, desperate even. I didn't reply. I knew this was just her way of trying to hold on, to make me feel guilty. I wasn't biting. Not anymore. The next morning, she showed up unannounced at my place. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed, like she'd been crying all night. She knocked on the door, trembling, and I opened it slowly, leaning against the frame. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, voice shaky. "Please, I want to understand." I looked at her, see-through and vulnerable, and I felt nothing but cold. "You already lied to me enough," I said. "I sent you everything. You want to talk, fine, but don't pretend this is about understanding. You lied, you cheated, you betrayed me, and I don't see how you can fix that with words." She looked down, clutching her purse tightly. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was so scared to tell you. I thought I could fix it, hide it, but see, now that I was wrong, I was a coward." Her voice cracked, and I saw the tears threatening to spill over. I stepped closer, voice firm. "You made your choice. You decided to cheat, to lie. You thought you could get away with it. Well, you didn't. And now I want you to understand something. You lost me. Not just my love, but my respect. And I don't think I can ever trust you again." She looked like she was about to say something else, but I cut her off. "I already made my decision. I'm done. You can go now." I turned my back, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders as I closed the door behind her. At that moment, I knew I'd done the right thing. She might have believed she could keep her secrets forever, but I'd finally pulled back the curtain. I'd made her see that fake smiles and lies weren't going to save her anymore. I wasn't going to be her victim, not anymore. Now I'm left with a clear mind and a clean conscience. But I know better than to think it's over. She might come back, try to convince me to forgive her. Maybe she'll even pretend she's changed, but I won't fall for it. I've seen who she really is, and I'll never let her get that close again. The final step is simple. I'm going to hand over the keys, lock her out of my life for good, and start rebuilding from scratch. I've already scheduled the appointment to change my locks tomorrow. I want her gone, and I want her to understand that she can't undo what she's done. That's the only way I'll be able to truly move on. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever look back. Because the truth I uncovered was a wake-up call, one that showed me what real betrayal looks like and how I can finally walk away from it. After I handed her the keys and told her to leave, I felt a strange calm settle over me. It wasn't relief exactly, more like a weighted silence that I'd been carrying for so long had finally been lifted. I watched her retreat out the door, her shoulders slumped, eyes red and hollow. She didn't say a word, just took her bag, walked out, and disappeared down the street. I closed the door behind her, and for the first time in weeks I could breathe without that suffocating weight pressing down on my chest. I sat down on the couch and looked around the apartment. Every corner, every piece of furniture seemed to mock me, a reminder of what I'd lost. But somehow, amidst the chaos, I knew I was finally free. The betrayal cut deep, yes, but I'd turned the page. I'd confronted the truth head-on, and I'd made my move. There was no more pretending, no more hope that she'd change her mind or come back begging for forgiveness. She chose her path, and I chose mine. I pulled out my phone and sent a final message. "The keys are on the table. I've changed the locks. You're not welcome here anymore." That was it. No more dragging it out, no more excuses. Just a clear, definitive goodbye. The door was shut, literally and figuratively, and I was ready to move forward. As I stared at the blank screen, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. Betrayal has a way of breaking you, but it also forges something new, something stronger. I realized that I'd spent too long trying to hold on to something that was already gone. Now I could finally start rebuilding my life piece by piece. I took one last glance around the apartment. The memories, the lies, the pain, they all stayed behind that door. I stepped outside and took a deep breath of fresh air, feeling the cool wind brush against my skin. It was a new beginning, and I was finally ready for it. The lesson here: never ignore the signs and don't let anyone trap you in a lie. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. But you can choose what comes next. I chose to walk away, and honestly, I've never felt freer. Life's too short to be stuck in someone else's deception. I'll never forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. Moving on isn't about forgetting, it's about learning and choosing to leave the pain behind. The truth hurts, but it also sets you free. And now, I'm finally free to live my life on my own terms.